brand new trailer for Terrifier 3 has officially arrived, and other than showing us some things that are going to actually be appearing in the movie, they showed us that the Terrifier team is not skimping out when it comes to paying homage to old horror movies that came before it. We got several little scenes and references to older horror movies in this trailer, and so today I'm going to go through and I'm going to break them all down for you guys. Some of them you might have noticed right away, but some of them may be a little more hidden that you didn't really notice the first time you watched, so if you want to see some things like that, then stay around to the end of this video. Welcome back to the channel, my name is Haydxn, and today we are going to be looking at the Terrifier 3 trailer and all of the little scenes in it that paid homage to old horror movies, or Easter eggs, if you will. So go ahead and grab yourself a snack and a drink, sit tight, and let's get into it. Alright, so right off the bat, the very first scene that we see in this trailer is of Art the Clown sitting in a rocking chair up in an attic by a window. The first thing you might have noticed is that this window looks a lot like the window in the attic of the Amityville horror movie. Now that could be a slight stretch because I'm sure a lot of attics have windows that look like this with this shape, but by now we know that Damien Leone has a really big love for horror, so I wouldn't put it past him purposefully making a window like this just so they could pay respects to the Amityville horror. And another thing that we see in this scene of Art the Clown sitting in the rocking chair is that close-up that we get of him covered up in cobwebs. So this to me looks like a pretty big callback to the 1974 Black Christmas film where we see a woman in the rocking chair with a bag instead of cobwebs over her face. Just the visual of this makes me think that Damien Leone was probably going for something along those lines in specifics, and based on the fact that Terrifier 3 is a Christmas horror movie, it is no doubt he was obviously trying to pay respects to some Christmas horror movies that came before Terrifier. So just off the first scene in the trailer, we have two references in Amityville Horror and in Black Christmas. Another really big part in this trailer is the already iconic shower scene in Terrifier 3, and obviously a lot of you probably know that shower scenes is something common in horror, especially if you look back to the original Psycho. Psycho undoubtedly gave us the most iconic shower scene that we have ever seen in horror films, and it's been replicated a lot of times, but I've never really seen one like this with the Terrifier 3. So obviously, if they're going to pay homage to horror movies that came before this, then they are obviously going to throw a shower scene in there. Like I said, this is already iconic. Everywhere, everyone in the fan base is talking about this shower scene, and they think that this is possibly going to top the bedroom scene from Terrifier 2. But nevertheless, there is another Easter egg and a callback to an iconic horror movie in Psycho. But while we are on the topics of chainsaws, this is something that looks like it's going to be really common in the Terrifier 3 movie. It looks like Art the Clown is going to be using this chainsaw quite a bit, and it doesn't take a genius to piece this together that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre basically had to have had an influence and an input on Art the Clown using this chainsaw. We even get a scene where Art the Clown is holding up his chainsaw and probably looking at a victim, and while he's not dancing around in the middle of the road, this is probably a callback to Leatherface doing his famous chainsaw dance. That one is definitely a stretch. There is no tell that this is going to 100% be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre Easter egg, but I'm sure with how popular the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Leatherface is and how much more popular it's gotten in the past years, obviously Damien Leone is probably paying some respects to that and having Art the Clown use a chainsaw. You cannot have a horror movie recreating iconic horror scenes if they are not going to recreate the Jack Torrance looking through the door from The Shining. This is something that we've seen before in horror movies. The most noticeable one that I can think of is the seed of Chucky, where Chucky breaks down the door and looks through it and he's like, I think there's something I should say here. But in Terrifier 3, we're going to get Art the Clown doing the same exact thing. And I think this one's really funny because one of the most iconic parts of the scene is when Jack looks through the door and he's like, here's Johnny. But Art the Clown doesn't talk, so he's basically just doing it to terrify his victims. And up until now, this is a scene that I never knew I needed to see in a Terrifier movie. So yet another callback to an iconic horror movie, Art the Clown looking through the door just like Jack Torrance did in The Shining. And probably the most overlooked scene that a lot of people aren't really noticing, this could be a very huge callback and a very monumental part for the Terrifier franchise, is when Sienna is talking to Jonathan about how she needs to go and revisit the Terrifier. It's at that point where we see this guy with a mask on. He looks like he could be in some sort of like demonic room, maybe even hell, and I think that this is probably going to be a callback to the 9th Ninth Circle. And if you guys don't know what the Ninth Circle is, this is basically a short film that featured Art the Clown for the very first time. I'm not talking the original Terrifier movie, and I'm honestly talking about something that happened before All Hallows Eve was even a movie. So if you aren't all the way up to date on Art the Clown, there's basically a couple of movies that aren't canon, and a couple of those are short films that were compiled into All Hallows Eve. And you've probably heard of All Hallows Eve. Art the Clown is the poster for that movie, but one of the short films in that is the Ninth Circle, and it's basically showing us how Art the Clown is a servant for the devil. This is the first time anyone in the world sees Art the Clown. He's taking out his victim and he's bringing them to hell, and if I had to guess, Damien Leone might be actually implementing that into an actual Terrifier movie, making the Ninth Circle and All Hallows Eve, anything that happened up until that point, canon in the Terrifier universe. So as far as who the actual masked guy in hell is, I'm not 100% sure, but just based off of the surroundings, I'm assuming this dude has to have something with the Ninth Circle and possibly the whole All Hallows Eve storyline with Art the Clown, and that might be a callback and a monumental part of the Terrifier storyline that is now going to be implemented going into the future. But if the Ninth Circle and the whole All Hallows Eve thing is going to start being implemented into the Terrifier franchise, then I think that a lot of you guys need to go and watch All Hallows Eve, just in case you haven't seen it, because up until now it has not been canon to any of the Terrifier movies, and a lot of people really don't even know that it's a movie at all. But that is the first actual feature film that had Art the Clown in it. So just to cover your tracks, if I were you, I would go and watch All Hallows Eve before I went and watched Terrifier 3 in October. But all I know is if they do end up implementing this into Terrifier and making it canon, then things are going to get a lot crazier and a lot more weird than they already were. So on my end over here, that is all of the references that I noticed in the Terrifier 3 trailer. But if you guys noticed something that I missed, then go ahead and comment it down below and let's talk about it. I rewatched this trailer several times trying to think of anything I could to piece this and other iconic movies in horror together, but this is all I could come up with for now. But like I said, if I missed anything, go ahead and comment down below what it was. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video of me breaking down the Easter eggs in the Terrifier 3 trailer. If you did, be sure to show me by leaving a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you're going to subscribe to the channel, then you might as well click the notification bell because it is literally right there next to the subscribe button. My name is Haydxn. It was a pleasure having you here on the channel, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video. Peace!